and welcome back to Voyage of a Time Wanderer. Today I am here to share my 2022 Cloak and Dagger Christmas TBR. So as you can see, I am in a slightly different location today. I'm sitting here in front of my Christmas tree. I just finished decorating this afternoon. It is Sunday, November 27th, and so Christmas is just around the corner, and that means it is also almost time for Cloak and Dagger Christmas, which is a month-long read-along over the month of December, which focuses on reading mysteries. It is hosted by Kate Howe, Janelle from Too Fond of Books, Carolyn from Carolyn's Reading Rambles, Mel from Melanie Martin, and Kate from the novel Nomad. And this is a readathon that I've participated in for the last couple of years, and so reading mysteries around the holiday season has started to feel like a little bit of a tradition. And this year, all of the prompts are themed around the 12 Days of Christmas song, so there are lots of reading prompts, but then also lots of fun activity prompts. So I can't wait to share the books that I have on my list and kind of some of the holiday activities I have planned. So the first prompt is A Partridge in a Pear Tree, read a mystery with an alliterative title, and for that I am choosing Death in a Darkening Mist, a Lane Winslow mystery by Iona Wishaw. This is the second book in the Lane Winslow series, and I read the first book last Cloak and Dagger Christmas, and so I thought I would pick up the second book this year. And it has this great cover that has kind of this wintry hot spring vibe, which I'm quite excited about. Actually, the plaid jacket that she's wearing matches with this tissue paper, so that is fortuitous. I'll read you a little bit of the back. So this is the mystery series that is written by a local to me author and is set in British Columbia, Canada, which is where I live. Lane Winslow returns in the second installment of this brilliant new mystery series created by the daughter of a wartime spy. After the turbulence of her first several weeks in King's Cove, former British intelligence officer Lane Winslow wants nothing more than to finally settle into a nice quiet life in her new community. But when the body of a Russian man is found at the local hot springs, Lane's expertise and remarkable linguistic abilities prove to be invaluable to the case. The investigation, led by Inspector Darling, points to the Soviet Union, where Stalin's purges are eliminating enemies. Further evidence reveals that the reach of Stalin's agents snakes all the way into a harmless Doukhobor community not far from King's Cove. Lane's complicated relationship with Darling is intensified by the perils of the case and by the discovery of her father's death during the war. So I'm really looking forward to being back with Lane Winslow and kind of seeing how I feel about the series as it continues. I did enjoy the first book. I think I gave it 3 stars, which is kind of average for a mystery series for me. It wasn't like right off the bat a top favorite mystery series, but it's definitely one that I wanted to continue on with. So I'm looking forward to this next installment. And I think based off of the cover, it might have some kind of seasonal ambiance. Then the second prompt for 2 Turtle Doves is to do a buddy read, and for this I'm going to be reading The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins. This book is the November-December pick for Kate Howe's Patreon Victorian Classics book club, so it's kind of maybe cheating, but it's a big buddy read because I'm reading it with the whole group and we're having our discussion right at the end of December, beginning of January. This will be my second full-length Wilkie Collins, and I know he's kind of credited with being one of the first authors out the gate on the mystery genre. This book, to be honest, I have been intimidated by. It's fairly chunky, and I don't know, the cover doesn't totally draw me in, but I've seen some other covers that make it look way more interesting, so I know I shouldn't be judging it by a cover. I do have this on audiobook as well, and I'm probably going to listen to it, and it's like 18 hours or 21 hours, so it is going to be a significant time commitment during December. This book is obviously a Victorian classic written by Wilkie Collins, and the back says, the legendary Moonstone diamond is given to spirited Rachel Verinder on her 18th birthday, the gift of an uncle who came by it dishonestly. Originally plundered from a sacred statue in an Indian temple, the diamond is said to bring misfortune to those who prevent its return to its spiritual guardians. When the diamond vanishes overnight, Inspector Cuff of Scotland Yard is brought in to investigate. Suspicion falls on a band of Indian jugglers, but also on Franklin Blake, the man Rachel loves. A tale of betrayal, greed, and the redemptive power of love, The Moonstone was described by T.S. Eliot as the first and greatest of English detective novels. So I am really looking forward to finally seeing what all the hype is and trying to figure out if Wilkie Collins is going to be an author that I enjoy or not. and I think the audiobook version that I'm going to read is a multi-narrator audiobook, which I absolutely love because this book is told from multiple perspectives, so I think that that is going to be a treat as well. Then the next prompt is 3 French hens read a mystery either set in a different country or a translated mystery, and I think like a lot of people I'm gonna go with the set in a different country version of the prompt, and as someone from Canada that's not hard to do because pretty much most of the mysteries that I read, besides obviously the Lane Winslow mystery, are set outside of Canada. But I'm really excited about the book that I found for this prompt because it is set in Zambia, which is my husband's country, and I'm always trying to find more books that I can read set in Zambia. There aren't a lot, especially not a lot of Zambian books written by Zambian authors. So I have found a Zambian mystery that has 0 reviews on Goodreads. So it's either going to be a fantastic hidden gem or maybe there's a reason why no one else has read it, but I really am looking forward to giving it a try. And it is called 5 Nights Before the Summit, and it is written by Mukuka Chipanta. And the blurb, so it's a historical mystery set in the 1970s in Zambia, and the blurb makes it sound like it is going to be something that I really enjoy. I'll read off my phone here. My only concern is that it seems like it's a little bit difficult to source. It's not available on Kindle for some reason. And obviously like none of my libraries or anything have it, so I might have to either try to track down a physical copy, or it looks like maybe Google eBooks has a copy. I've never read like a Google ebook, so I don't even know what, if I'd need to download a new app or how that would work, but I'm gonna try to track this down. So the blurb for this one says, it's 1979. The first Commonwealth Heads of Government Summit on African soil is due to take place in Zambia, graced by Queen Elizabeth herself. Barely a week before this much anticipated event, a white British couple, Henry and Laura Hinckley, are brutally murdered on their farm in the outskirts of the capital city, Lusaka. The unknown perpetrators are at large, their motive unclear. Fearing a media backlash, the British government applies pressure on the Zambian authorities to bring the culprits to book, threatening to cancel the Queen's trip altogether, a move that would result in huge embarrassment for the Zambian government. Detective Maxwell Chanda, head of the Special Crimes Investigative Unit, is the man tasked with leading the investigation. He's a wise, steady hand, but will he be able to piece together the seemingly disparate evidence in just 5 days? Will he be able to hold firm under the intense political pressure which insists on putting expediency above accuracy? 5 Nights Before the Summit offers a rich tapestry of context and character in a story that engages the reader in the pursuit of justice. So there's a couple of things that make me really excited for this book. Obviously the Zambian setting is a huge draw for me. Really the only fictional book that I've read set in Zambia that I've really loved is The Old Drift by Namwali Sherpel. So I'm always like chasing down another great Zambian book. But also the fact that in the background of this plot is political intrigue around a Commonwealth Heads of Government Summit is so cool. When I was in grad school doing my master's degree in international relations and African studies, I actually focused quite a bit on modern Commonwealth relations, so that's kind of like a nerdy topic that I'm particularly interested in that rarely makes its way into the fiction that I read. So I think having that like Commonwealth government political science spin on this mystery will be a lot of fun. So hopefully I can figure out a way to read this book digitally or see if I can order a physical copy somehow, because I think I'm going to really enjoy it, and I would love to give this book that literally has no ratings on Goodreads its first review. Then prompt 4 for 4 calling birds is to read a book in nature or go for a walk. And I will definitely not be just sitting around outside reading a book. We've had a really brutal start to winter here. It came hard and fast on November 2nd and pretty much has not disappeared. We've had snow on the ground the whole month of November, which is a little bit unusual. Usually it kind of comes and goes through November, but we have had temperatures like in the minus teens pretty much the whole month and lots of snow already. So I will not be sitting outside and reading, but if there is a nice snowy day during my Christmas break, I will maybe try to go for a walk around the block listening to an audiobook or something like that, and have that count for my walk in nature and just bundle up really well. And then 5 gold rings is one of the prompts that I'm maybe the most excited for, and that is to read a book that has foil on the cover. And I was really stumped about this prompt for quite a while, and then I remembered that I have this book. Ooh, the foil. The Paris Mysteries by Edgar Allan Poe, and the reason I'd kind of forgotten that I had this book is because it's written by Edgar Allan Poe. I had it on my classic shelf, which isn't really where I usually look when I'm pulling mysteries for Cloak and Dagger Christmas. Usually I'm looking among my contemporary fiction. So this one had kind of, I'd forgotten that it was sitting there. This is obviously absolutely gorgeous and has this gold coppery foil design, and this book is particularly special because I actually bought it in Paris at Shakespeare and Company. So it has the Shakespeare and Company stamp, and I got this in February 2020. So it is almost 3 years since I bought this book, and I haven't had a chance to pick it up yet. So this is the perfect excuse, and it's a collection of 3 short stories written by Edgar Allan Poe that take place in Paris. So we have The Murders in the Rue Morgue, The Mystery of Marie Roget, and The Purloined Letter. So I'm excited to have a couple of short stories to mix into my TBR. And it's interesting because it seems like almost every book that I pick up that was written during this time period claims that it's like the first detective novel or the author that invented the detective novel. And so this book also kind of makes that claim for Edgar Allan Poe, and apparently they're all featuring a detective called Auguste Dupin. And it says that these short stories from the pen of Edgar Allan Poe are some of the most influential ever written, widely revered and credited with inventing the detective genre. So I think it's going to be fun to kind of relive my trip to Paris, both because I'm reading a book that I bought in Paris, and then also to have that Parisian setting, and obviously having the foil on the cover is the cherry on top of the cake for this book. Prompt number 6 for 6 Geese a-Laying is to have a cozy Christmassy evening and watch a cozy mystery. And I think for this prompt I'm going to try to watch The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle, the Jeremy Brett edition, because that is like the closest we get to a Sherlock Holmes Christmas short story. It's set, I think, on December 27th is when the mystery takes place. So it's got kind of some Christmassy vibes still, and I remember reading it a couple years ago when it was one of the stories that was selected for the Dickens Along read-along that's hosted by some ladies on Instagram, and I really remember enjoying it. So I think it would be really fun to watch the Jeremy Brett adaptation of The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle and make it into a Christmassy evening with some hot chocolate and Christmas cookies and all those kind of lovely holiday treats. We have a traditional cookie recipe that we make every year in my family, which is kind of like a spiced gingerbread-ish cookie that's cooked softer, so not like crunchy gingerbread, but soft and chewy gingerbread. And then it has a raspberry jam filling and is iced with melted chocolate. And those are the quintessential taste of Christmas for me, so that is definitely what I'm going to be eating while I watch The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle. So for prompt 7 Swans a-Swimming, we are supposed to either take a bath and read a book in the bath, go for a swim, or take a walk in the rain. So I will either be taking a bath, maybe going for a swim at our local Rexplex, but probably most likely I will go for a walk in the snow because we don't have rain when it's this cold, and I'll cross that off along with my walk in nature prompt. And then there's 8 Dingoes Dancing, which is a wild card read, and I think for this I'm going to go with Offshore by Anne Cleeves. This is actually a short story collection that is kind of a spin-off of her Shetland series. I am super close to being finished with the Shetland series now. I only have 1 book left in the series, but she did write both this short story collection and a novella that are kind of could be read anywhere in the middle of the series. So I think I'm going to pick up Offshore and read some of those short stories for the wildcard prompt. And these are short stories that feature Detective Jimmy Perez or Detective Inspector Willow. And so that's kind of cool because we have both stories set in Shetland following our usual cast of characters, but then we also get to see a little bit more of Detective Inspector Willow and her life, particularly on the Outer Hebrides. So I love books set in the Outer Hebrides, and so I think I'm going to really enjoy those stories, and it will be a fun way to stretch out the Shetland series a little bit longer because I'm already really sad that I'm almost finished reading the series. If you have a recommendation for a similar kind of atmospheric Scottish mystery series, I would love to hear your recommendations. I picked up the Shetland series after finishing up most of Peter May's books, which are primarily set on the Outer Hebrides. And so I picked up Shetland to fill that void in my reading life, and now I'm almost finished with the Shetland series and I'm searching for my next Scottish mystery series. Prompt number 9, 9 ladies dancing. Have a festive night in or out to get in the holiday spirit. And I don't really have like any company Christmas parties or anything that I'm planning to go to, but we always do closer to Christmas, like to go out and drive around and just get a hot chocolate and look at all the Christmas light displays around our neighborhood. So that's definitely kind of a yearly tradition that I'm looking forward to. And then my husband's birthday is actually in December, quite close to Christmas, so we will definitely be going out for supper to celebrate his birthday, and that will be another fun event and an opportunity to eat some cake in the lead up to Christmas. Then for 10 Lords a-Leaping, read a mystery that features a character of nobility. I am going all the way to the top of the nobility charts, and I'm going to be reading The Windsor Knot by S.J. Bennett, and this is a book that I've been wanting to read for a while that features Queen Elizabeth as a detective, and so obviously it feels particularly apropos to read it this year, as you know, there are so many memorial events for her. So this book sounds pretty fun and interesting to me because it obviously features the Queen in her old age trying to solve some mysteries. So the plot of this book is, the morning after a dinner party at Windsor Castle, 89-year-old Queen Elizabeth is shocked to discover that one of her guests has been found murdered in his room with a rope around his neck. When the police begin to suspect her loyal servants, Her Majesty knows they're looking in the wrong place. For the Queen has been living an extraordinary double life since her coronation. Away from the public eye, she has a brilliant knack for solving crimes. With her household's happiness on the line, her secret must not get out. Can the Queen and her trusted secretary Rosie catch the killer without getting caught themselves? So it sounds kind of silly, but in the best possible way, and this is a book that my best friend has actually already read, and I'm pretty sure she gave it 5 stars. So I think that even if it is a little bit of a cheesy concept, it obviously does it well, and I think that it'll be a book that I will find a lot of humor in. Then 11 Pipers Piping, listen to cozy Christmas music while reading, and this will obviously not be a hard prompt to fulfill. A couple of my favorite Christmas albums. I love John McDermott's Christmas album. I love the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, and the Boney M Christmas CD is like a staple in my family. It can't be Christmas unless we've listened to the Boney M album. So those are a couple of the albums that I know for sure will be on repeat during the month in our house. And then prompt 12, the final prompt of Cloak and Dagger Christmas, is 12 drummers drumming. Listen to a crime narrative, and so for this I'm going to listen to an audiobook for one of my mysteries, and I'm really hoping my hold arrives in time on The Murder of Mr. Wickham by Claudia Gray. This is a book that I was considering reading for Jane Austen July, and kind of I couldn't get it from my library in time, and then I had enough other books that I wanted to read in July, and so it's one that I would really love to get to by the end of the year. I've heard kind of mixed reviews on it. Some people I know have really enjoyed it and others have not, so I'm curious to give it a go and form my own opinion. This is obviously a Jane Austen themed mystery, and the plot says, a summer house party turns into a whodunit when Mr. Wickham, one of literature's most notorious villains, meets a sudden and suspicious end in this mystery featuring Jane Austen's leading literary characters. The happily married Mr. Knightley and Emma are throwing a house party, bringing together distant relatives and new acquaintances, characters beloved by Jane Austen fans. Definitely not invited is Mr. Wickham, whose latest financial scheme has netted him an even broader array of enemies. As tempers flare and secrets are revealed, it's clear that everyone would be happier if Mr. Wickham got his comeuppance. Yet they're all shocked when Wickham turns up murdered, except of course for the killer hidden in their midst. Nearly everyone at the house party is a suspect, so it falls to the party's 2 youngest guests to solve the mystery. Juliet Tilney, the smart and resourceful daughter of Catherine and Henry, eager for adventure beyond Northanger Abbey, and Jonathan Darcy, the Darcy's oldest son, who adheres to propriety, makes his father seem almost relaxed. The unlikely pair must put aside their own poor first impressions and uncover the guilty party before an innocent person is sentenced to hang. So I think that just sounds like a lot of fun to bring together so many different Jane Austen characters into one closed room mystery, And obviously Mr. Wickham, it's like, who wouldn't have wanted to kill Mr. Wickham? I think there would be kind of endless suspects. So I think it will be really fun to see the author's spin on these characters and this mystery. So those are all the books that I have planned to read during Cloak and Dagger Christmas. I did have such bold plans for my December reading, and then we are finding out that we might actually be moving in the week between Christmas and New Year, which obviously means that my dreams of like just sitting on the couch and reading during my break from work will not be a reality. So we'll see how many of these titles I actually get to if we do end up moving. So maybe I'll be listening to a lot more audiobooks while I am packing and moving everything, but I'm really excited about all of the books on this TBR, so I'm hoping I can get to as many as possible. So if you're participating in Cloak and Dagger Christmas, I would love to know what mystery you're most excited to read, and until next time, enjoy wandering through the pages of a good book.